The small town of Willow Creek was quiet. No big crimes, no loud people, just peace. People left their doors open during the day. The streets were clean. Everyone knew each other. And in the center of it all was Sheriff Tom Granger. Tom didn't talk much. He wore the same brown jacket every day. His eyes were calm, but sharp. People respected him, not because he smiled, but because when he looked at you, you felt like he already knew everything about you. Tom lived on a small farm just outside town. Just him and his daughter, Emily. Emily was 17. Kind, smart, and full of dreams. She worked at the animal shelter after school. She wanted to become a doctor. "Dad, one day I'll help people like you do," she often said. Tom would nod. But he never said much, just looked at her with eyes full of love and worry. One afternoon, Emily walked home from school. A black SUV slowly passed behind her. She didn't notice it, but Tom did. He saw it from his truck, parked far across the road. The SUV had dark windows, no plates, no reason to be in a town like this. Tom's hand tightened on the steering wheel. That night, he sat at the dinner table with Emily. "Did anything strange happen today?" he asked. Emily looked up from her food. "No, just school." Tom nodded again, but inside, something felt wrong. He got up and walked outside. He scanned the road. The wind was quiet, but Tom's heart wasn't. Later, he opened a locked box in his closet. Inside were old photos, a badge, and a folded paper with a name. The paper read, "Diego Ramos, cartel leader, captured 2005. Tom stared at it. Then at the photo next to it. A younger Tom, in black armor, holding a rifle. Standing with a SWAT team. Ice cold. A man ready for war. That was his past. A past he had buried for 15 years. The next day, Emily went to the shelter. The same black SUV passed again. This time, slower. The driver looked at her. He had a scar on his face. He smiled, but not kindly. Emily stepped back. He drove off without saying a word. She told her dad when she got home. Tom didn't speak. He went outside and didn't come back for hours. He drove around town, asking quiet questions. The gas station worker had seen the SUV. Said the men spoke Spanish. Said they had guns in the backseat. Tom's face turned pale. He drove straight to the station. Pulled out a dusty folder marked Ramos Cartel, Revenge Threats. One name stood out, Rafael Ramos, brother of the man Tom helped arrest years ago. Word was, Rafael had vanished. Now maybe he was back. And maybe he had found Tom. That evening, Tom checked the mailbox. There was a red mark under the box, painted like a circle with a line through it. His heart dropped. That mark was a cartel warning. It meant, "We see you. We're coming." Tom went inside. He found Emily reading on the couch. She looked up and smiled. But Tom didn't smile back. Instead, he said quietly, "Pack a small bag, Emily." "Why?" she asked. "We're leaving for a few days. Is something wrong?" Tom paused. He didn't want to scare her, but she needed to know. "There's danger. I don't know when, but it's close." Emily looked confused. "But this is Willow Creek. Nothing happens here." Tom looked out the window. "That's what they want us to think." That night, Tom sat in his room with the lights off. Just silence and shadows. He loaded his old pistol, checked his radio, put the photo of his wife in his pocket. Outside, the black SUV passed by again. It didn't stop, but it didn't need to, because now the game had started. The morning was quiet in Willow Creek, but Sheriff Tom Granger couldn't relax. His hands moved slowly as he sipped his coffee. His eyes, however, kept scanning the road from the kitchen window. Emily came downstairs, holding her small travel bag. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Somewhere safe," Tom replied without turning around. "But why?" she asked again. Tom looked at her for a long moment. He didn't want to lie to her, but he didn't want to scare her either. "Some people from my past. They might be looking for me." Emily frowned. "What kind of people?" Tom finally answered, his voice cold. "Cartel." Emily had heard the word on the news. Danger, guns, death. She didn't ask more questions. She just nodded. As Tom packed the truck, he noticed something strange. On the tree near their mailbox was a carving, a small symbol, a circle with a slash through it. The same symbol he had seen years ago, when he raided a cartel safe house. He pulled out his phone and took a photo, then erased it immediately. Cartels didn't just send messages. They sent warnings. And if someone ignored the warning, they sent pain. Tom and Emily left the house quickly. He didn't go to the next town. He drove off-road, through woods and small trails only he knew. After 2 hours, they reached a small wooden cabin hidden deep in the forest. It had no phone, no internet, no neighbors, just silence and safety. Emily looked around. "What is this place?" Tom said, "It used to be a SWAT training cabin. Now, it's ours." Inside the cabin, Tom opened a hidden box under the floorboards. Inside, old gear, bulletproof vests, knives, maps, a dusty sniper rifle. Emily stared at it all. "Dad, who are you?" Tom sat down on a wooden chair, and for the first time in years, he told her the truth. "I was part of a secret SWAT team. We were trained to take down cartels, not just in our country, but outside too. We did missions no one talked about." He paused. "One of those missions, we caught a man named Diego Ramos. He ran the Ramos cartel." Emily listened carefully. He had a younger brother, Rafael Ramos. Ruthless, smarter. He escaped, disappeared, but he swore he'd find every man who helped arrest his brother. Tom looked into Emily's eyes. "I was one of those men." Emily felt cold all over. "So now, he found you?" Tom nodded. "He doesn't want to kill me. Not yet. First, he wants to hurt me, by hurting you." Meanwhile, in a nearby motel on the edge of town, the black SUV was parked. Inside, 3 men sat at a small table. Maps, photos of Emily, a list of local officers. One man had a scar across his neck. He picked up a radio. "Target moved," he said, "but we found the sheriff's deputy. He'll talk." Outside, another officer, Tom's closest friend, was tied up in the back of a van, bleeding, afraid. Back at the cabin, Emily slept in a small room. Tom sat outside, watching the forest. The moon was bright, but his thoughts were dark. He heard a noise in the distance. Crack. A branch. He pulled out his gun slowly, but it was just a deer. Still, he didn't relax, because he knew the cartel never stopped. They didn't forget, and they didn't forgive. Suddenly, his radio buzzed. It was his deputy's voice, weak and full of pain. "Tom, they got me. They're coming for her." Then silence. Tom dropped the radio. His eyes changed. Not afraid, but sharp, deadly. He stood up, walked into the cabin, and pulled out the old SWAT vest. He looked into the mirror and said to himself, "If they want a war, I'll remind them how I used to fight one." Tom didn't sleep that night. He sat outside the cabin, holding his gun, eyes on the dark woods. He knew what was coming. Not if, but when. Inside, Emily slept quietly. She still didn't understand the danger fully, but she trusted her father. Tom couldn't protect the world, but he would die protecting her. The next morning, Tom turned on a small battery radio. No phone, no internet, But he could hear local news. A voice came through the static. Sheriff's Deputy Mark Lewis was found unconscious behind the station. Signs of torture. He is now in the hospital. Police believe it was gang-related. Tom's heart sank. Mark was more than a deputy. He was Tom's best friend. This was a message. The cartel was getting closer. Tom stepped outside to check the area again. But when he came back, Emily was gone. Her bag, her shoes, the door slightly open. Tom's chest tightened. He looked around. No signs of struggle. Then he found a note on the table. I went to check on Sarah. She wasn't answering my texts. Don't worry, Dad. I'll be back soon. Sarah was Emily's best friend in town. Tom closed his eyes in pain. Emily had no idea she just walked into a trap. Emily took a bus into town. She didn't tell anyone. She just wanted to make sure her friend was okay. When she reached Sarah's house, the door was half open. Sarah, Emily called. No answer. She stepped inside. The living room was silent, cold, too clean. Suddenly, the door slammed behind her. Two men grabbed her from behind, covered her mouth. She screamed, kicked, fought hard, but they were stronger. They tied her hands and pulled her into the black SUV waiting outside. The trap was complete. Back at the cabin, Tom was already in his truck, dragging fast, heart pounding. He checked Sarah's address, parked 3 streets away. Too late. He saw broken glass, a dropped earring, Emily's. He picked it up with shaking hands. Then his phone buzzed. An unknown number. He answered. A cold voice spoke. You took my brother. Now I take your daughter. Come alone, Sheriff, or she dies. Then the call ended. Tom stood still, eyes frozen. He looked at the photo in his wallet, Emily as a baby in his arms. Then he looked at the scar on his chest from the old days, a gift from the cartel. He walked back to his truck, opened a hidden box. Inside, his old badge, a small black notebook, and an envelope marked, for Emily, if I don't return. He didn't want to open it, but he might have to. Meanwhile, Emily was tied to a chair inside a dark warehouse. The cartel men were laughing, playing cards, not worried. The leader, Rafael Ramos, stepped forward. A scar ran from his eye to his chin. He looked at Emily with cold eyes. So, you're the sheriff's little girl. Emily was scared, but brave. My dad will find me, she said. Rafael smiled. I'm counting on it. Tom returned to the town quietly. He didn't call for backup. He knew they'd be watching. He used old contacts, old tunnels, old tricks. Everything he once learned during his SWAT days. He found the location. An old lumber yard outside town. Fenced, guarded. He studied the place. 2 guards in front, 1 on the roof. And inside, Emily. Tom took a deep breath, then pulled out his vest. He slid on his old gear, every knife, every bullet, every memory. He wasn't just a sheriff now. He was the man who once took down entire gangs with his bare hands. Inside the warehouse, Rafael got a text. He's coming. He smiled. Let the sheriff come. I want him to watch her die. But outside, Tom was already on the roof, silent like a shadow. 1 guard down, then another. He moved fast, quiet, deadly. He was back. The night was cold. The wind howled through the empty trees. Tom Granger stood above the warehouse roof, watching every move below. He wasn't just a father tonight. He was a weapon. Years ago, he walked through war zones with a gun in his hand and fear in his eyes. But tonight, he had no fear. Only one mission. Get Emily back. Inside the warehouse, Rafael Ramos leaned over Emily. He lit a cigarette slowly, smiling as if nothing mattered. You know what he said. Your father took my brother away, locked him up for life. Now, I return the favor." Emily didn't cry. She looked straight at him and said, "My father's not afraid of you." Raphael laughed. "He should be." He turned away and nodded to one of his men. "Take her to the truck." 2 men grabbed Emily's arms. But before they could leave the room, boom, a loud noise outside. The lights blinked. One of the guards ran out. Then, a scream. Gunfire. Everyone stopped moving. What was that? One man whispered. Another backed toward the wall, shaking. Raphael stepped to the door and shouted, "Find him." But it was already too late. Tom was inside. He had taken out 3 guards quietly. Now he moved through the dark hallway like a shadow. He knew this place. He had trained in places like this. He remembered every door, every noise, every breath. He moved closer to the center room. Then he heard her. "Dad." Emily's voice. His heart jumped. Without thinking, Tom kicked open the door. Crack. 2 shots fired. One hit a wall. The other hit a guard in the leg. Screams. Emily ducked as Tom rushed forward, knocking another man out with one hard punch. Another guard aimed at Tom. But Tom rolled, pulled a knife from his belt, and threw it. Thud. The man fell. Emily cried, "Dad." Tom untied her quickly, held her face in his hands. "Are you hurt?" "No, just scared." Tom nodded. "We're leaving. Now." But as they turned, click, a gun cocked behind them. Raphael stood at the door, gun pointed at Tom's head. "You really think it's that easy?" he growled. Tom stepped in front of Emily. Raphael laughed coldly. "You were good, Sheriff. I respect that. But times have changed. This is my world now." Tom didn't move. Raphael raised his gun. But suddenly, a loud growl. A dog. From the shadows behind Raphael, a giant black dog leaped. Bam! The dog tackled Raphael to the ground. The gun flew from his hand. Tom rushed forward, grabbed the weapon, and pointed it back at Raphael. The Cartel leader froze, face full of shock. The dog stood over him, growling, teeth inches from his neck. Emily stared in disbelief. "Dad, is that Max?" Tom smiled for the first time in days. "Yes, he found you." Flashback. Earlier, when Tom returned to the cabin and found Emily gone, he opened the old dog kennel. Max was Tom's old SWAT dog. Retired, trained, loyal. Tom only had to say one word. "Find." And Max ran. He ran through forests, streets, scents, and danger. Straight to her. Back in the warehouse, Raphael was on the ground. Tom pulled out handcuffs and locked his arms behind him. "You're not hurting my daughter," Tom said coldly. "Not now. Not ever." Sirens began to sound in the distance. Tom had called in a tip before entering the warehouse. Police were coming. It was over. Tom looked at Emily. She was shaken, tears in her eyes. But she was safe. He hugged her tightly. And for once, he let himself feel the fear of losing her, the fear he had hidden all along. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I should have told you sooner." Emily whispered back, "You don't have to say sorry. You saved me." The police arrived. Raphael was taken in, his men arrested. The nightmare had ended. But for Tom, something had changed. He had buried his past for years. But now his daughter knew everything. And she wasn't afraid of it. She was proud. That night, they sat on the porch of the cabin. Max lay at their feet. Emily looked up at the stars. "Dad, are we safe now?" Tom looked into the dark woods. Then at her. "Yes," he said, "because now they know not to mess with a father who has nothing to lose." The next morning, the sun rose slowly over the quiet cabin. The trees stood tall, the sky soft orange. Emily stood outside with a cup of tea in her hands. She looked calm, but her mind was still racing. The night before had changed everything. She had seen her father in a way she never imagined. Not just a sheriff, not just her dad, but a warrior, a protector, a man with a past full of secrets. Tom sat on the steps of the porch, sharpening a small knife. Max the dog lay beside him, eyes closed, peaceful. For a moment, it was all calm. But inside both of them, there was still something heavy. Emily sat down next to her dad. "Can we talk?" she asked. Tom nodded. She looked at him seriously. "I need to know the truth. All of it." Tom took a deep breath. Then he began. "Before I became sheriff, I wasn't living in this town. I was in special forces, SWAT. We went after drug lords, terrorists, gangs, people like Raphael." Emily listened closely. "I saw things I don't like to remember. I did things I had to do, to protect innocent people." He paused. "But one day, something went wrong. A mission failed. My best friend died. We were ambushed by a cartel." Emily's eyes widened. "Raphael." Tom nodded slowly. "His brother was there. He escaped. That's the man I arrested years later. The one Raphael wanted revenge for." Emily didn't speak for a moment. Then softly, she said, "And you never told anyone." Tom shook his head. "I didn't want you growing up in fear. I wanted you to feel safe, happy, normal. I thought if I buried that part of my life, we'd both be okay." Emily smiled weakly. "But your past came back, Dad." Tom looked down. "Yes, and this time, it nearly took you from me." He clenched his fist. "That's something I will never let happen again." Later that day, the town sheriff office was full of reporters and police. Raphael's arrest made national news. Everyone wanted to know how it happened. Who caught him? Who took down a major cartel leader? Tom walked into the station quietly, wearing his old uniform, cleaned and pressed. People clapped. Officers stood to salute him. But Tom didn't smile. He walked straight to the captain and said, "I'm not here for glory. I just want my daughter safe." Outside, Emily waited in the car. She watched her father come out of the building. And for the first time, she saw him not just as a sheriff, but as a hero. Her hero. In the next few weeks, things changed fast. Police found the rest of Raphael's cartel members hiding across the state. With Raphael gone, the group began to fall apart. Tom worked quietly with state forces, sharing his knowledge. But he refused to return to the front lines. "I've already lived that life," he said. "Now I just want to live this one, with her." One afternoon, Emily walked into her school cafeteria. People stared. Some whispered. But she held her head high. Someone bumped into her shoulder on purpose. "Hey, look, it's the sheriff's princess," a boy joked. Emily turned. "No," she said, "I'm the sheriff's daughter, and my dad's the reason this town is still safe." The room went silent. Then someone clapped. Another joined in. Soon, the whole cafeteria was clapping for her. That evening, Emily returned home to the cabin. She found her dad sitting on the porch again. Same spot, same knife, same dog. But something was different. Peace. Real peace. She handed him a small gift box. "What's this?" Tom asked. "Open it." Inside was a badge. Not his old one. A new one. Custom made. It read, "Tom Granger, father, hero, protector." He looked at her, eyes glassy. "You didn't have to." Emily smiled. "I wanted to." They sat in silence for a while. Then Tom whispered, "You know, I was scared too." Emily looked surprised. "Really?" He nodded. "Every second you were gone. I wasn't a sheriff. I wasn't a soldier. I was just a dad, afraid of losing his little girl." Emily leaned her head on his shoulder. "You didn't lose me," she said. "You saved me." That night, under the stars, the quiet town finally slept without fear. Because its quietest man had shown the world who he truly was. Not just a sheriff, not just a warrior, but a father who would burn down the world to protect the one thing he loved most: his daughter. 1 week had passed since Raphael was arrested. The town had returned to normal. The streets were quiet. No more strange cars. No more threats. Emily was back in school. Tom spent his time fixing old things around the cabin. But peace never lasts forever. That morning, Tom received a letter. There was no name on the envelope, only his name written in red ink. Inside the letter, there was just one sentence: "You took my brother. Now I'll take everything from you." Tom's hands tightened. He had seen this before. A threat. A warning. And worse, this wasn't from Raphael. This was from someone else. He sat quietly for hours, staring at the letter. Max barked once, sensing something was wrong. Tom got up, opened a locked drawer, and took out an old photo. It was a group picture. 5 men in army uniforms. Smiling. Strong. Young. He pointed at the man on the far left. Diego. Diego Vega was a cartel hunter once. Same team as Tom. Same missions. Same blood. But years ago, Diego went missing. Rumors said he had turned. Sold secrets. Joined the enemy. Tom never believed it. Until now. That night, Tom called an old friend, Agent Cole. "Cole, I need a trace on a letter. No official channels." "Tom," Cole said, "you think someone's coming." "I don't think." "I know." Cole sighed. "Give me an hour." While Tom waited, Emily came out onto the porch. "You okay?" she asked. Tom didn't answer. He handed her the photo. "That's my old team." She looked at the faces. "You were so young." Tom pointed at Diego. "He was like a brother. We saved each other more than once." "What happened to him?" Tom looked away. "We lost him. Thought he was dead. But I think he's the one sending threats now." Emily's face changed. "Why would he do that?" Tom's voice was cold. "Because I know something he doesn't want anyone else to know." Later that night, Cole called back. "Tom, that letter was dropped off in a private airfield, 10 miles from your town." Tom stood up. "Airfield?" "Yeah, and someone landed there 3 nights ago using fake ID. Mexican military code, but it's not real." "Diego." "That's my guess," Cole said. Tom hung up. At midnight, Tom stood at the edge of the forest behind his cabin. He knew Diego. He knew how he worked. He also knew Diego wouldn't wait long. Inside the house, Emily packed a bag. "Where are we going?" she asked. Tom looked at her with steady eyes. "We're not going anywhere." "But you are." She stood up fast. "No, I'm not leaving you again. You have to." "Dad." Tom held her shoulders. "If he comes for me, I can handle it. But if he sees you here, he'll use you again." Tears filled her eyes. "But I don't want to run." Tom looked down. "Then stay in the safe house, just until I end this." Suddenly, Max started barking. Loud, sharp, serious. Tom grabbed his gun. He looked outside. Nothing. Then a small sound, a branch cracking. Then another. Emily froze. "Dad." "Go to the basement," Tom whispered. "Now." She ran. Tom stayed by the door. Then, boom, a loud explosion in the front yard. Flames burst up. Smoke everywhere. Tom was thrown back but got up fast. From the trees, men started running in. 3. No, 4 of them. Wearing black. Guns in hand. Tom fired back. Max leaped forward and tackled one man. Tom shot 2 more. 1 bullet hit his arm. But he kept fighting. Inside, Emily could hear it all. Gunshots. screams, barking. Then silence. She sat in the dark, shaking, holding a flashlight, praying. Please, please let him be okay. Outside, Tom stood, blood on his sleeve. 3 men lay on the ground. Max growled lowly at the 4th man. Tom walked up. He pulled off the man's mask. It wasn't Diego. But the man smiled. He's coming. Tom grabbed his shirt. Where is he? The man whispered, closer than you think. Then passed out. Tom looked up at the stars. The war wasn't over. Diego was coming. But this time, it wasn't about revenge. It was about stopping a ghost from the past before he destroyed everything Tom loved. The sky was dark. Stars faded behind heavy clouds. The air felt cold, too cold. Tom stood in the yard, blood on his sleeve, eyes scanning the trees. The men who attacked were not the end. They were just the beginning. One of them had said it. He's coming. Diego, Tom's old teammate, now turned enemy. A ghost from the past, one with secrets, rage, and a plan. Back inside the cabin, Emily sat in the hidden basement room. She held a radio in one hand, a picture of her and her father in the other. She was scared, but not weak. Dad, I'm okay, she whispered into the radio. I believe in you. Tom's voice came back, calm and clear. Stay there, Emily. No matter what happens, don't come out. Promise me. I promise, she said, fighting tears. An hour passed. Then 2. No sound. Just wind and the slow ticking of Tom's old watch. But Tom wasn't resting. He was preparing. He placed traps around the cabin, loaded every weapon he had, checked every window, every shadow. Max followed him, quiet and alert. Tom whispered to him, "This is it, old boy. One last fight." At 3:27 a.m., it began. The wind stopped. The forest went silent. Then, one sharp crack. A branch snapped. Then another. Tom turned to the trees. And there, standing tall in the darkness, was Diego Vega. He looked older, his beard thick, ice cold. But Tom knew that face anywhere. Long time, hermano, Diego said, walking slowly. Tom didn't move. He raised his gun. You're not welcome here. Diego smiled, still straight to the point. You haven't changed. Tom narrowed his eyes. But you did. Diego's voice was low. I didn't change. I just opened my eyes. The world doesn't care about heroes. So I stopped being one. Tom kept his gun up. You hurt my daughter. You came to my town. You crossed a line. Diego raised his hands. She's fine, isn't she? No harm done. But you tried. Tom's voice shook with anger. You tried to break the one thing I live for. A long silence. Then Diego said, You always followed the rules, Tom, even when the system failed us. Tom's voice was strong. I follow the rules to protect people. You used to do that too. Diego laughed softly. Now I protect myself, and you should have done the same. He pulled a small remote from his pocket. Tom's eyes widened. A trigger. A bomb. Diego waved it. This cabin is wired. I've had eyes here for days. Cameras. Wires. I planned everything. Tom's heart raced. Emily. She was inside. He stepped forward. What do you want? Diego's voice grew colder. I want you to pay. For walking away. For leaving us behind. For living a quiet life while the rest of us died. You chose this path, Tom said. No, Diego replied. You did, the day you left me to rot. Suddenly, Max barked. Loud, sharp, angry. Then, gunshots from the woods. Diego ducked. Tom rolled to the ground, firing back. The cabin lights exploded. Darkness. Screaming. Barking. Fighting. Inside the basement, Emily heard everything. She cried, shaking. Then suddenly, boom, the floor shook. Smoke filled the air. Emily covered her mouth. No, Dad. Back outside, the yard was a battlefield. Tom and Diego fought hand to hand. No more words, just fists. Pain. History. Diego slammed Tom into the dirt. You were always the favorite, always the hero. Tom punched back. And you were always angry, always waiting to explode. They wrestled near the porch. Then Max jumped in, biting Diego's arm. Diego screamed. Tom grabbed a broken plank and hit Diego hard. Once, twice, until he fell. Diego lay on the ground, breathing hard. Blood on his face. He laughed. You still fight like a soldier. Tom looked down. No, I fight like a father. He tied Diego's hands, called it in. Helicopters arrived minutes later. Lights, cops, FBI. Diego was taken away. His final words. You may have won tonight, but peace never lasts. Tom didn't respond. He just watched the sky. He ran into the cabin. Emily. She crawled out of the smoke, coughing, covered in dust. Dad. He held her close. I'm here. I've got you. She cried in his arms. I thought I lost you. Tom whispered, You never will. As the sun rose, the town woke up to news again. Another cartel leader caught. Another threat removed. But for Tom and Emily, it wasn't about headlines. It was about survival. Family. Healing. Later that week, Tom stood at the edge of a small river. He dropped Diego's photo into the water. Goodbye, brother. He turned and walked away. Emily was waiting in the truck. They drove home in silence, but their hearts were finally at peace, because they had faced the past, survived the storm, and found each other again. 2 weeks had passed since the fight. The town had gone quiet again. No more strangers. No more shadows in the trees. Just wind, birds, and peace. Tom and Emily were safe, but something inside them had changed forever. They had seen death. They had faced the past, and they had survived. Tom stood on his porch, sipping coffee. Max sat beside him, his ears up, always alert. Emily stepped out, wrapped in a soft blanket. Couldn't sleep, she asked. Tom smiled slightly. Just thinking. She sat next to him. About Diego. Tom nodded. I trained with him. I trusted him. And in the end, he became my enemy. Emily looked at the sunrise. Do you think he ever regretted it? Tom didn't answer right away. Then he said, I think people like him are too proud to say sorry. But deep down, maybe he did. The morning light touched the trees, a soft golden glow. Emily leaned her head on Tom's shoulder. I used to think you were just a quiet man who liked fixing old cars. Tom chuckled. I am. She smiled. Now I know the truth. You're a warrior. Tom looked at her with love in his eyes. No, I'm just a father. Suddenly, Max barked. They both stood up. A car was pulling up the driveway. But it wasn't the cartel. It was a black government SUV. Agent Cole stepped out. Gray hair, sharp eyes, serious face. Tom, he said, nodding. Tom nodded back. Emily stood quietly beside her father. Cole looked at them both. I came to say thank you. Diego Vega was on the most wanted list for 7 years. Because of you, he's gone. Tom said nothing. Cole added, the agency is offering your old job back. Full command. Tom looked at Emily, then back at Cole. No, he said. Cole raised an eyebrow. You sure? Tom stepped forward. I've done my time. I've lost friends. I nearly lost my daughter. I'm done with war. Cole smiled softly. I thought you'd say that. He handed Tom a small envelope. "Inside is a medal. For your service. You earned it." Tom didn't take it. "Give it to someone who still needs to be brave." After Cole left, Tom and Emily walked into town. Everyone stared at them. Some smiled. Some nodded. People had heard stories, whispers, but no one truly knew what Tom had done to save them. And he liked it that way. They'd reached the small coffee shop. Mrs. Green, the old lady at the counter, smiled wide. "Tom, Emily, on the house today." Emily grinned. "Thanks, Mrs. Green." They sat near the window. A family walked in. A father, a little girl, and their dog. Emily watched the child laugh. Tom followed her eyes. "She reminds me of you," he said. Emily laughed. "I wasn't that cute." Tom looked at her, serious. "You were braver than most adults I know." She looked down, blushing a little. Then she said, "What now?" Tom sipped his coffee. "Now, we live." Outside, the world kept moving. Birds flew. Children played. Cars passed. But for Tom and Emily, this quiet moment, this peace, it meant everything. And though danger may return someday, and the past may knock again, they knew they would face it together.